Next up, we got our Anteaters OP. Anteaters gotta be D tier. They have to be. There's no way that an Anteater gets above D tier unless Tier Zoo is about to tell me some crazy stuff that I never would have thought of. Otherwise, Anteaters are definitely D tier. Tell me I'm wrong right now.
The Elden Ring.
Ants are one of the most overpowered factions in the game.
Truth.
Their go-wide-use social strategy is essentially unbeatable, to the point where they control wide swaths of the overworld pretty much uncontested. Even the human build, the undisputed top tier in the current meta, has trouble keeping ants at bay. And with their huge variety of incredible abilities, from acidic projectiles and powerful stingers to coordinated attack strategies and terraforming abilities, I don't think it's much of a surprise that ants are such a meta-defining force. And yet, there's one build which can obliterate an entire colony in only a few minutes. The Anteater. But does having a super favorable matchup against one of the game's top tier builds actually translate into the Anteater being top tier itself? There's so much
I've listened to Country twice now,
sheesh. Solo an entire colony of ants with ease. So in today's video, we'll discuss all the abilities and weaknesses of the Anteater build
you know we love you,
to
gang.
determine Anteaters are only playable on the South America server. In both,
there's no there's no African Anteaters. I could have sworn, bro. I could have sworn Wild Kratts showed some African Anteaters, bro. I swear to God.
Jungle and
Wild Kratts
biomes.
was goated as.
Exactly, bro. If you were poor and had to watch Wild Kratts, let's get a W in the comments in the chat.
I grew up watching PBS Kids.
Yeah, because we were poor.
On television.
Because we were poor.
Did you ever watch Ion?
A little bit when I was really young. I was like, when I watched Ion.
There was a goated show called Flashpoint. You should look that up.
Oh, I know what show you're talking about. You're talking about I know.
OG SWAT show.
Try to carve a niche into. I know I drone on a lot about how OP African builds are. But
True.
The Amazon rainforest.
Because the African had to fight a lot harder. The African builds had to fight a lot harder to stay alive.
The most fearsome predators in the game.
There's a lot of there's a lot of resources in the jungle, but there are a lot of fierce predators. But there's also a lot of resources. The ones in Africa had to fight for what they got.
The largest size, and the Felid build with the most powerful bite, among many other incredibly dangerous predators. Meanwhile, the Anteater's closest living relative is the sloth.
What?
A build with so many devastating flaws that I currently rate it as the mammal furthest down on a tier list. So
the sloth is definitely the worst build ever. The panda might be F tier 2. The panda is probably F tier 2 if I was to say. Do you know much about pandas? Do you know pandas spend like 12 hours a day eating?
Dude, pandas are so cute though.
Yeah, but they spend 12 hours a day eating.
Is it that the Anteater is able to survive such a hostile metagame? Well, they may be closely related to the pathetic moss-covered slugs that Human Faith builds named one of the 7 deadly sins after. But they're also related to this, Megatherium, the gigantic ground sloth that was capable of one-shotting a saber-tooth. And in my opinion, Anteaters take after this type of sloth. To see what I mean, let's look at their stats. There is some variation among different Anteater builds, which
we're streaming. We're doing reacts right now.
now
it's not open Discord right now. We're doing reacts right now.
Focus on the giant Anteater. Pulling up the analysis, 2 things jump out right away. The first is their shockingly high HP stat. While they don't have any major form of armor, the Anteater can still shake off a surprising amount of damage, even from attacks that might normally one-shot most players. This is crucial as it allows the Anteater
what? Really?
Armor. The Anteater can still shake off a surprising amount of damage, even from attacks that might normally one-shot most players.
Anteaters actually got armor like that? No shot. No shot Anteaters actually got armor like that.
The Anteater a chance to survive ambush jaguar.
You knew that? I didn't know that. What? I just thought they ate ants all day. They're actually strong? He just ate a jaguar attack and a horse kick to the face?
Which is pretty incredible given that jaguars frequently one-shot crocodilians. But this is also extremely important because it provides
the Black Ops 2 fucking music in the background.
Exactly, Anteaters chose the tank build.
That being their attack.
They say we're gonna eat the smallest thing that we can find, and we're gonna choose the tankiest build possible.
This attack power stat might look like a mistake, especially given that Anteaters don't even have teeth and are completely locked out of using the move Bite. However, once you get past the head and look down, You realize that at the end of their massive gorilla arms, anteaters have pickaxe-shaped claws as big as those of a grizzly bear, except the anteater's claws are even sharper because they walk on their knuckles to avoid wearing them down. These incredible weapons are what allow the anteater to tear through the cement-like walls of termite mounds with ease. But they come with the nice side benefit of being able to absolutely eviscerate any player who fails to kill them in one hit. Their slashes can easily
Really?
deal lethal damage.
I need to see it. He's not gonna show it in this video, but I need to see a fight between an anteater and a goddamn jaguar.
So any predator
and I
looking
need to
to
see the
ambush an
anteater win. No shot.
needs to make sure they have what it takes to finish the job before the anteater can
Look up a
counterattack.
compilation of
And this threat
anteaters
alone is
fighting.
often enough to dissuade attacks in the first place. While the
I never realized anteaters looked like that.
counterattack, and this threat
Bro, if that thing walked up on me, I'm running away. What? If it came charging at, bro, I definitely feel what the dog's feeling, bro.
alone
If
is
this
often
happened,
enough
bro-
to dissuade attacks in the first place.
Have you ever
While
thought
the
about how
anteater's
lucky
matchup
we
with the
are
jaguar
with
is, of
like
course,
ratio of animals?
Dude, have you ever heard realistic T-Rex sounds? I don't know how they managed to figure this out, but these realistic T-Rex sounds sound way scarier than a roar. A vocal analyst did this.
Dude, if it was being like 2 in the morning and I was walking down the street and I started hearing this, bro, yeah, I'm gone, bro.
Isn't that not way scarier than a roar, dude?
I would so much rather hear a roar than
I
that.
would
That is
much
fucking
rather hear it.
terrifying.
That is exactly.
That sounds like some SCP horror right there. Oh no. I feel like I'm about to get abducted by aliens or something.
Real dinosaur noises are insane, bruh.
How did they come up with this?
A vocal, like a vocal historian analyst, some shit, did a bunch of research on it, and then this is what he came to the conclusion of, based on their shapes and everything. I mean, did you know dinosaurs actually had feathers?
important, it wouldn't be fair to the anteater player base if I didn't comment on
Some scientists think all dinosaurs, including sauropods, had feathers, just as mammals all have at least some hair. Large mammals, such as elephants, though have very limited hair. So it's theorized that they all had hair or feathers. Like, that's damn near scarier than... Dude, that's scary. Imagine all them feathers poofed up.
The anteater's 2-foot-long tongue is covered in a glue-like substance and can flick in and out over 150 times per minute, which can take out dozens of insects per flick
That dude eating
and
pussy
decimate
fast
a
as
colony
hell.
in no time. However, similar to their sloth brethren, anteaters opted for a slower metabolism. This comes with downsides, which we'll cover later, but it does mean that they don't need to consume an entire colony of ants, and can actually leave the colony in a damaged but recoverable state. This is a highly sustainable method of farming XP, because it ensures that the anteater player can simply return to the same termite mound or anthill later on, tear into it again, and the colony will have replenished its supply of workers.
apple
They can
juice.
just do the same thing again. It also means the anteater doesn't need to be at any one colony for very long, which is good because despite how powerful their offensive tools are at destroying a colony of insects, anteaters don't actually have any unique defensive abilities.
Imagine if T-Rexes actually clucked like chickens. Bruh.
to
Could you
avoid
imagine that big ass thing walking around
the damage from the swarm of militant insects they've just provoked, and have to rely solely on their HP to soak up the damage. Of course, as mentioned prior, because of their high HP stat, anteaters are well equipped to tank a lot of hits. But the acid attacks launched by termites and ants certainly aren't something they can just ignore for extended durations. The rest of the anteater stats are fairly lackluster. Anteaters aren't as sluggish as sloths, but because of their slow metabolism, they do have a below average movement speed. Given that they've spec'd into massive claws on their forelimbs rather than more mobility favoring options like paws or hooves, I don't think this low speed is too surprising. It's a worthy trade-off in my opinion. Their stealth stat is also middle of the road. They don't stick out as bad as some builds, but aren't the best camouflaged either. The anteater can hide under its bushy tail, disguising itself as a bush while also shielding itself from the cold. But as far as plant-style disguises go, there are certainly more impressive displays out there. The anteater's intelligence isn't great either. They'd form quite a formidable force in groups, yet rarely engage in team strategies, if ever. Their last main weakness is their poor eyesight. It's a good thing they don't go down in one hit, because the tiny eyes on the sides of their heads do not give them the best odds at detecting an ambush before the attacker is within striking range. Next, let's delve into some of the individual variants of the Anteater. The Giant Anteater is by far the most powerful, at the cost of its mobility. The Giant Anteater is the only variant that lacks the ability to climb trees.
Those things are
Despite their claws being
huge!
phenomenal for hooking into trees.
What?
Giant Anteaters simply are too cumbersome.
I
to
didn't
venture
see
into
that.
the
I didn't see
There
that.
are two other variants of the Anteater build, and both variants are much better at climbing. First is the Tamandua. This mid-sized Anteater sports a slightly lower base power and hit point stat than the Giant Anteater, but in exchange it has unlocked a powerful new ability, a prehensile tail. This perk allows the user to use its tail essentially as a fifth appendage, granting it additional resistance to being knocked down while browsing high up in the treetops. Because of its lower HP stat, this build can't tank acid damage as well as the Giant Anteater, and so it needs to avoid high-tier ant builds like the Leafcutter Ant. The final variant is the Pygmy Anteater, a nocturnal
What?
build
That's
that
a
invests
baby!
more into its stealth
It's
than
a
other
little
stats,
baby!
drastically
Look at
cutting
the
its bulk
baby!
and damage in turn. In my opinion, the Pygmy Anteater is a bit too similar to the Sloth build for me to consider it competitively viable, but to each their own. Although the ability to climb does come in handy for escaping predators,
Bro,
the Giant Anteater
kinda want
doesn't
one.
seem to miss it much.
I want one.
While the other variants need to worry about attacks from eagles, the Giant Anteater's bulk is enough to protect it from
It
these
has like
threats.
5 main
Its matchup
specs. What
versus
the
the
fuck?
Jaguar is still pretty risky, but it's better
It's
than most.
it's kind of balanced. Low key, the Anteater is kind of
So I'm gonna give
balanced.
the Giant Anteater a rating of A tier, while the Tamandua
What? An A? I would say like a B minus.
gets a rank of
I'd say
D
like B
tier,
minus.
and the Pygmy Anteater gets a D tier rank. One of the most effective ways to lock in a high placement on the tier list is to have high base stats. And while most stats
Oh yeah, base stats. Yes, Anteater strong. Good video. W tier zoo.